Howdy folks. So I'm creating this video tonight because I noticed I've uploaded some seizure videos and some videos talking about Xilas, I've mentioned, is in training to be my seizure alert dog. Now, I thought I had uploaded a video talking about my epilepsy and the seizures themselves, but I guess it did not finish loading. So tonight I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my epilepsy and the seizures and why I caved and am in the midst of training a giant Great Pyrenees mix to become my seizure alert dog. So I am 24 years old. I'll be 25 this August. I've lived with epilepsy and, well, I've been diagnosed with epilepsy for 20 years, going 21 years. They think I might have had it, though, since I was 2.5, 3 years old. I was diagnosed when I was 4. So, that said, the way I was diagnosed is actually quite frightening. A lot of people do not survive a lot of nocturnal grand mals, and that's what I was having at first. Most people do not survive grand mals that go over about 15 to 30 minutes. If they do, they end up with a lot of brain damage. And I came out just fine. The only brain damage I've had over the years is some minor memory loss issues, and that's not just from the seizures I've had over the years. It's also due to medications, drugs that even doctors prescribe do fuck with your brain, people. That's why I really do not like having to take them, but I do. Because if it's not meds, it's seizures. So I kind of lose out on either side here. So yeah, when I was about 2.5, 3 years old, I started waking up with dried vomit in my hair. Occasionally I would wet the bed, or my parents couldn't figure out why. They had no clue why. In the morning they would find me with vomit in my hair, and my mom would keep my hair long. Like, I loved being able to put my hair up. So so every morning they would go through the struggle of cleaning my bed, putting new sheets down, washing my hair, picking out the vomit. It was just a mess. It was not a good thing. Well, one night, in the middle of the night, when I was about 3.5, 4 years old, my dad got up in the middle of the night, go to the bathroom, and he just had, after he went to the bathroom, he had the urge to check on me, just because I was still waking up with vomit in my hair. Most mornings it was dried by then. Some mornings it was still wet. Wet mornings, it was the easiest to clean out. But yeah, he went to the bathroom that night, had the urge to check on me. He walked in on me in the middle of a grand mal seizure. They're called what? Tonic-clonic these days. But, born and raised knowing them as grand mal, I'm still gonna call them grand mal people. So yeah, he walked in on me in a tonic-clonic grand mal seizure. Eyes rolled back in my head, vomiting everywhere, back arched, stiff as, like, my back was arched, stiff as a board. My legs and arms were jerking and flopping everywhere. And he knew instantly, like, knew what it was. He didn't, no questioning, because his biological father had epilepsy. My biological granddad, which I only met a couple times as an infant and a toddler. He died, though, when I was in high school, and I had never met him other than when I was a baby, so it was no biggie for me. But knowing epilepsy runs in that side of the family, plus my dad's half-brother had epilepsy. So my dad instantly knew, seizure, my daughter is having a seizure, like, shit, that's what's been going on this entire time. So he ran, got my mother, they called the ambulance. Between the time my father found me, ambulance came, picked me up, got me to the hospital, and it ended at the hospital was about 2.5 to 3 hours. Now, doctors were predicting that it was another 1.5 to 2 hours, like, between the time before my dad had found me, that the seizure had started. So they are predicting it was a 4. Bless me. So yeah, they're predicting it was anywhere from a 4 to 6 hour long seizure, and I survived that. And they're not sure if any of the seizures previously were anywhere as long, or if that was just the master grand mal of them all. But yeah, so I somehow survived that. Mind you, I was only about 4 years old at the time, and most adults don't even survive an hour-long one without any sort of major brain damage. So I was completely lucky. So we got on meds. This was a new thing completely for my mother. Like, she never even knew of any of this. Like, so it was still a little bit new for my father. Like, he knew a little bit, but not enough to, like. So yeah, they were, again, but they were young. They were only 24 when they walked in on their daughter having a grand mal seizure. Like, this was a little scary and new for them, or new to a point. But my dad and mom, so yeah, they buckled up and rode the crazy train, and we dealt with the whole playing with seizures and meds and that thing while I was growing up, and found out what meds worked for me the best, and what, growing up, obviously growth spurts would cause seizures, activity. The grand mals, for the most part, my grand mals went away for years. Like, years. I would have occasional, what they call petty mals, and, like, my hands will twitch, or my legs will jerk. I have what they call auras, which is an indicator that I can have a seizure. Typically just a bad taste in my mouth. And trying to think of the name of it here. Yeah, that's a choice. Between seizures, and I'm on Topamax right now. Topamax likes to, like, wash your brain away. Like, I have no memory right now. Like, I am trying to think of what they are called, the type of seizure that I occasionally have. It's kind of similar to blackout, but not quite. Can't think of them. But yeah, petty mal, auras. Trying to think here, people. I'm sorry. Yep, nope, it's not coming to me. If I can remember, I'll like list it down below, but it's kind of like blacking out. Like I'll stare into space and just not be there. What are they called? I can't remember right now. I'm so sorry. But yeah, those are the only ones I tend to have. But coming close to a year ago, because I was off meds completely for 3 years, I was using CBD oil and some other cannabinoids for 3 years, and I was off meds, and my neurologist was cool with it. He was good. I was seizure free, other than occasionally having an aura or occasional like hand twitching during that time of the month, and that was it. That was nothing. And then about a year ago, a little over a year ago now, I started having grand mals. But about a year ago, life started getting super stressful, and that's kind of what does it for me, is stress, anxiety, and hormones. Hence why I said when I was using cannabinoids only around that time of the month would I get auras and occasional like hand twitching. But that's it. About a year ago, a little over a year ago, my parents, not only were they split, my parents split about 2.5 years ago, but so my parents, not only were they split, and I was having to worry about my little brother who has autism, and I was stressing out worrying about him because my parents split. That's how I got my little brother. My parents split 15 years ago, went on a date, and 9 months later I got my little brother. But so I was stressing about that. My dad had lost his job and was having trouble finding one, or wasn't looking for one. I don't know with how long it took. It was seeming like he wasn't looking, but we're just not going to really go over that much right now. So I was stressing because I was trying to pay off college. I was trying to pay for a car. I was trying to keep up with household bills on my own. Like, it was not going good. And even though my dad wasn't working, he was suddenly bringing home just random ass fish and other things. So I was starting to stress. And I, a couple times, had woken up and I had bit my lip open, or I had peed the bed, which, again, I'm in my early to mid-20s, like, shouldn't be peeing the bed for no random reason. Like, I hadn't drank or anything, like, and so, I had a feeling something was up. And then one night I was spending the night at my boyfriend's house, and oh, goody goody, I got the joys of waking up to being loaded into an ambulance. Oh boy, yeah, that was fun. Luckily, I woke up in time before they could drive me away, because I was not paying for that. Yeah, so luckily I was not paying for that, and, no, yeah, look, unfortunately, I don't know if you can tell by the outfit, I'm a bit of a hippie, so I have a tendency to sleep in nearly nothing, sometimes nothing at all. And apparently, as I was coming to as his mom was coming in the room to try and help me get situated before the ambulance came, or the ambulance was getting there, I was, like, ripping off my clothes because she was trying to dress me, and I was fighting. I'm like, no, I'm staying in bed. Like, it was like, I'm like, I wish you recorded, like, I told my boyfriend, I'm like, I wish you recorded this so I could laugh at myself. I'm like, sounds great. Like, cause she was cause this all happened, like, as fall hit, so, like, of course I had, like, I had brought with me, like, a sweatshirt and pants, like, jeans and, like, warm clothes while I'm sleeping in nearly nothing. And so she's, like, trying to get me dressed, and I'm, like, throwing it back off as she's, like, trying to get the next half of my clothes on. Like, I'm like, this sounded great. But no, I fully came to, like I am right now, as I'm fully dressed, and I'm being helped and loaded onto like, one of the nursing beds. I'm like, sit straight up. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And, like, nearly, like, fly off of the bed. I'm like, no, get me down, get me off of this. I'm not paying for it. Heck no. Like, start, like, rambling like I am now. I'm like, no, this ain't a thing that's happening. Get me off, get me down. Like, so they took my vitals while they were sitting there in the driveway, and they're like, okay, well, you seem good now. Like, we just came because they called and let me off. But unfortunately, that wasn't the only grand mal I had, other than the couple I had in my sleep. I was at work, working for a place that takes care of people with Down syndrome, and we were out in public. Yeah, it was not a good situation. We were at a restaurant. We had just gotten done eating. And, well, it was me and 3 other coworkers and six residents. And, well, me and 1 other coworker were inside, sitting there with 2 residents, waiting for the check to come back. Like, we had paid and we were just waiting for the check to come back so we could, or whatever you want to call it, because we needed that so we could fill out paperwork when we get back. And I was feeling fine. I hadn't had an aura or anything, and it wasn't that time of month. It was nothing. Kind of like the previous grand mal. Like, I felt fine. So, the 4 other residents and the 2 other coworkers were sitting out in the van waiting for us. Well, now, all the workers are supposed to know what to do for a seizure, because people with Down syndrome are known to have some sort of seizure disorder, especially as they get older. Well, the one person I was with, like, didn't know what to do when the grand mal hit, because apparently, this is the way she described it to me. I went blink stare, stretched my arms out, turned my head, and screamed at the top of my lungs. Just, type thing. So, and then suddenly stiffened and started jerking. So, yeah, that was not a good thing. Definitely not a good thing. And of course, luckily, one of the waitresses that was there was in, she stayed by my side, like, helped my coworker lower me to the ground, and then she stayed by my side while the coworker ran out to get, like, tell the other coworkers what was going down, while she scurried the other 2 residents out to the car, and she went and grabbed the one and only coworker there with us. Like, I'm glad that coworker was with us, that knew what to do, because the coworker that was inside with me and the other coworker, like, one of the other 3 coworkers that was with us, I mean, yes, they had the training, but they had never actually seen a grand mal seizure, or would, like, but one of But the one had seen a grand mal seizure and had worked for that place long enough where she had seen residents have seizures and had to handle it before. So I am eternally grateful and like thank God she was there, because otherwise I don't know what I would have done. I probably would have woke up and had like an entire like and the entire staff would have been like surrounding me of that restaurant or something. Like it would not have been So that situation luckily went okay. I was waking up from the seizure as I was already loaded up and they're closing the doors of the ambulance, and like my coworkers were telling me like they'll get a hold of someone for me, and at that time, because some major bad situations happened between me and my father and everything, at that time I was living with my boyfriend and his mother and his family, because me and my dad, had finally had enough. My dad, like I said, my dad was not really looking for work, and I had finally had enough and told him to kind of F off and either start helping pay for shit or get the fuck out. And well, he tried telling me to F off, and I'm like, if I'm the one that gets out, I'm like, you're either screwed or you actually do need to get a job, because you can't just sit your fat ass around and, So anyway, yeah, so coworkers, in the midst of everything going on and the ambulance loading me up, had taken my phone out of my bag, called my mother, and then called the boyfriend and told them what had just happened, and of course had given me my bag, like put the phone back in my bag, and said they had called my boyfriend and my mother and told them what hospital I was headed to. And so yeah, that's the last grand mal I had, and that is nearly a year away since I've had it. So what, we're in March, April, so yeah, I just have to get through the rest of March, all of April, and then we're golden, and it's been a year. Knock on wood, wherever wood is right now, or like paper right now is the closest thing to me to wood. Knocking on that, like, like right now. So I am back on meds. I am on 200 milligrams twice a day, so 400 milligrams a day of topamate. It's the off-brand of Topamax. It's the generic versus the name brand of Topamax. I know Topamax works for me because I've used it before. That's what I was on years ago, before I was off the meds for 3 years, nearly 4. So back on that, trying to see what the problem is. Way back in the day, I was not in a relationship, and I was not active, and I was, didn't have to worry about that shit. Topamax makes birth control nearly non-effective. So I might have to talk to the neurologist about maybe switching it over to another one I know I'm good with, and that's Lamictal. But we'll give Topamax a little while longer and just see what happens. But yeah, that's what's up. So yeah, epileptic have been for about 20 plus years. I am still having seizure activity, but it's only petit moles, auras, and whatever the staring spells are called. I can't remember right now. And that, because of the grand mals I was having and I am living on my own right now in the house I was born and raised in. And eventually the boyfriend will be moving in. I just, my pig, we've agreed I need to get the pig back out in his outside enclosure before that happens, and then clean out that part of the house. And then he will be moving in. So yeah, since I'm living on my own, that's why Xilas is being trained as a service dog. Plus, there is no guarantee I will never have a grand mal seizure again, especially since previously to having that one while I was awake out in public, I had never had a grand mal while awake before. I've only ever had nocturnal grand mals before, meaning I'd only ever had them in my sleep. Before that one, I had it while awake. So, I'm in the midst of training Xilas.